Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to discuss a strategy I use for problem solving. In particular, I'm going to discuss a strategy I use for situations where you have parts of a whole where the different parts are worth different values. So for example, if you had a concert and you had students and adults attending the concert and students have different prices from adults. Or if you had a sale of chips and cool drinks, and the chips cost one thing and the cool drinks cost another thing, and you know how many chips and cool drinks have been sold altogether. Or another example would be multiple choice questions, where you have a certain number of points awarded for correct answers, a certain number of points awarded for missed answers, and a certain number of points awarded for incorrect answers. Or the example that I'm going to look at today is an example with points in a sports tournament. So where you get a certain number of points for a win, a certain number of points for a lose, and a certain number of points for a draw. So here's the example we're going to discuss. It says a team participates in a soccer tournament. For each game they play, they earn 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, and 0 points for a loss. They play 11 games and win twice as many games as they lose. If they have 20 points, how many games did they win, lose, and draw? Now there's a lot of information here, so let's go back and highlight what seems to be important. It seems that the points they earn, so 3 for a win, 1 for a draw, and 0 for a loss is important. The fact that they play 11 games is important. They win twice as many as they lose, and they have 20 points. Now, I find it helpful to draw a table in these situations. So let's make my labels win, lose, and draw. And I know that the points they earned for each, points per game, they get 3 for a win, 0 for a lose, and 1 for a draw. Also, I know how many games they play, or I don't actually know how many games they play, but I know they win twice as many as they lose. So let's make lose, so let's say number of games played. Let's say if they lose x, then they win 2x. Now I could have made win x, and that means lose would be a half x. It just means I introduce a fraction, which you can work with, but it's up to, I've decided not to work with fractions today. Now, how many games do they draw? I know that in total, they play 11 games. So that means the number of games that they draw will be 11 minus 2x and 1x is 11 minus 3x. Now the next thing they tell me is that I have 20 points. Now the way that those 20 points will be made up is 3 times the number of games they play and win, 0 times the number of games that they lose, and 1 times the number of games that they draw. So if I want to work out how to get to the 20, I'm going to say 3 times games won plus 1 times games drawn, games drawn, plus 0 times games lost is going to equal to the number of points they have. So that will be 3 times the number of games they win, which is 2x, plus 1 times by the number of games that they draw, which was 11 minus 3x, plus 0 times the games lost, which was x, and that gives me 20. Now I can use the algebra to solve the equation. So I'm going to get 6x plus 11 minus 3x is equal to 20. 3x is going to be 20 minus 11 is 9, and so x is 3. Therefore, the games won will be 2 times 3, 6. The games lost is x, will be 3, and the games drawn will be 11 minus 3 times 3, so that gives me 2. Let's check to see if my answer is correct. 2 plus 3 plus 6 gives me 11, so that works. So the strategy that I go with is I find it helpful to draw a table, and then what you need to remember is the number of games played must be multiplied by the points per game for each category. So this strategy would be useful for anything that is a similar structure. So if you had a multiple choice questionnaire with different values for correct answers and incorrect answer, you'll work out how many correct answers they get times by the number of points per correct answer, plus the incorrect questions, how many they get of that, times by the points per incorrect answer. And then for the values you don't know, if you set up what you don't know as x, you should be able to solve an equation and get an answer.